Hello everyone, today is 5th of April, now it's 15 past 10 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment, and I will start with a short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. First of all, Avdiivka direction. According to reports in Russian sources, yesterday and day before, I shared with you information that Simeonovka and Berdichi were under Russian control. But yesterday evening, military summary, Dima, host of military summary channel, shared his knowledge on this topic, and he said that both these settlements are still disputed between the sides, and therefore most likely that's exactly the case, because I have no reason to doubt Dima's reporting. So probably both these or most likely both these settlements, Simeonovka and Berdichi, are disputed between the sides, and we can say maybe in a gray zone, although it will take, I guess, only a few days, and the Russian forces will manage to establish control over both those villages. Also, interesting developments on the Chasov Yar direction. According to reports from several military channels, Russian forces conducting offensive operations in two directions. One is from Ivanovskaya or Krasnaya towards the channel, which goes in between Bakhmut and Chasov Yar, and the other direction of Russian offensive is towards Chasov Yar itself. And the videos even are circulating on internet about offensive of Russian armored group. A number of Russian infantry fighting vehicles moved towards this forestry. Then infantry was launched to this forestry, and these armored vehicles retreated. I guess for this moment, killing operation has finished or are underway, and most likely Russian side in upcoming, possibly even hours, will start operations in this Dachi area on the northern side of this canal district of Chasov Yar. By the way, I am calling this district canal. I don't know what locals are calling, but to have some reference on the map, I choose to call this district canal. It's located on the eastern part of this channel, water channel. So at this point, what we know is that Russian forces are on outskirts of Chasov Yar in this forestry, and possibly, who knows, maybe during the nighttime, forward units of Russian army manage even to establish control over the several buildings in this Dachi area. And seems like Russian offensive will, on initial stages, will be oriented to establish control over the Dachi area, then industrial area of this canal district, and finally over this high-rise apartments. Let's see how will situation develop. When it comes to northern sectors of the front line, Russian forces increasing pressure on Ukrainian units in Seversk direction. Main hotspots, of course, are Razdolivka-Fedorovka areas. Russian forces pushing forward towards Vimka train station. Also, of course, Belogorovka is a hotspot, and even though clashes for Belogorovka were taking place for so long, for so many months, some sources are reporting that maybe situation finally will be resolved in favor of Russian side in upcoming days. And also interesting developments towards Terni, by the way, which is Kupiansk sector of the front line. Terni is, of course, located on the left bank of the Zhiribets river, and during the previous updates, I reported that there were reckoning force operations by Russian forces in direction of Terni. And today, this morning, several military channels reported that forward units of Russian militaries in this area entered Terni and established foothold inside this village. Of course, without photo or video confirmation, it's difficult to know what's going on, but because big military channels reported about it, I guess we have every reason to believe that Russian forces are inside the Terni now, and most likely in upcoming days Russian units will try to establish control over the entire settlement. Then probably clashes will move towards Yampolovka and Novosadovo on the northern side of Terni. Yampolovka on the southern side, Novosadovo on the northern side, and eventually Russian side will have full control over the left bank of the Zheribets River in this area. And this is it when it comes to short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. During the previous night, Russian forces conducted number of strikes on the military and logistics infrastructure of Kiev regime. And this time, according to reports that I see, main directions of those strikes were Odessa region and Kharkov region. During the day, probably we will learn some more about these strikes, and if so, I will share additional information in next updates and on my Telegram channel, of course. Okay, that's been said, let's go through some additional news now. And TASS news agencies report here that during the nighttime, early hours this morning, Russian air defense systems shot down 53 Ukrainian drones over the 5 Russian regions, and 44 drones from these 53 were destroyed over the Rostov region of Russian Federation. This is the second time, I believe, in last several weeks when Kiev regime is conducting a large-scale drone assault on Rostov region. In addition, I will share with you information that one Ukrainian drone was, and by the way, there was no reports about casualties on the ground or more or less serious damage, although in next several hours we may receive some additional information, and of course, as always, I will try to share that information in next updates and on my Telegram. And well, in addition, I will share with you information that one Ukrainian drone during the night was destroyed over the Saratov region. This drone was moving towards Engelsk, and in Engelsk, of course, Russian airfield is located for strategic aviation. Drone was neutralized. Local authorities shared information with public that there was no casualties on the ground and serious damage. One drone was destroyed over the Kursk region, one drone over the Belgorod region, and 6 drones over the Krasnodar region. Let's continue, and RIA Novosti is reporting that, aide of head of DPR, Donetsk People's Republic, Yan Gagin, made a statement that Russian forces are breach Ukrainian defense lines in Chasov Yar direction, and right now are on outskirts of Chasov Yar, which is, yes, correct information. I just reported about it. It is quite possible that Russian units already established control over at least several buildings in that Dutch area on the northern side of Canal district. RT is reporting that, former Russian president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council made quite strong statements about NATO troops in Ukraine and said that those troops, if they will be deployed, should not be taken even prisoner. Let's go through this news. Bounties should be offered for the killing of NATO soldiers if they are deployed into Ukraine to fight against Russian troops. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev said on Thursday in a post on social media. He commented this on Vkontakte, I believe. Medvedev lashed out at Kiev's Western backers, arguing that they are taking the world for fools if they believe that sending foreign forces to Ukraine would not lead to dangerous escalation. If NATO soldiers do end up in Ukraine, they will not be limited to non-combat roles, he claimed. They will become a part of the regular forces that are fighting against us. That is why they will have to be treated only as the enemy. Medvedev, who currently serves as the deputy chairman of Russian Security Council, wrote, "We should take no prisoners. Their highest rewards must be given out for every killed NATO soldier," Medvedev stated. So, quite a dire warning from Moscow once again. But Western ruling class is unable to read these warnings, by the way. They just don't care, seems like. But anyway, let's continue. TASS news agencies report here that Macron commented, President of France commented on recent phone call between Russian defense minister and French defense minister, Sergei Shoigu and Sébastien Lecornu. And Macron said that, Sergei Shoigu was threatening, according to him, his understanding of Sergei Shoigu's statements. Shoigu was threatening France, French troops, and so on. Maybe Macron thinks that Shoigu should be happy that France is escalating with Russia, and maybe Macron was expecting that Shoigu will say thank you or something like that. I don't know, but from a readout that we see in media, Shoigu just warned his French colleague that French leadership will create plenty of problems for France if they will deploy troops into Ukraine. That's all Shoigu said. There was no threats there. They were warning that, you know what, just be careful. That's all. But yet again, by the way, at this point, I really find it difficult to believe that leadership of the Western states are capable, majority of Western states at least, are capable of learning something, even on their own mistakes. And therefore, probably it's only a matter of time when French troops will end up in Ukraine first and then will be destroyed. And most likely troops from other NATO member states also. And you know my take on this whole situation about deployment of NATO troops. I said so many times before, but for new members of our community, I will repeat, if I may, that in my reading of the big picture, Ukraine will be divided after this conflict will end. Western regions of Ukraine, these regions will be controlled by, you know what, let me open this map. So, these western regions, by the way, most likely will be controlled by NATO forces, and therefore, if NATO troops will be deployed in these areas, probably there will be some theoretical chance, at least, that we will see no direct confrontation between Russian and NATO troops, at least on a larger scale. Some local scale skirmishes may take place anyway, but not on the scale that will provoke full-scale confrontation between the sides. Rest of the Ukraine, in my personal opinion, will be controlled by Russia, although I will leave some slight chance that Kiev and surrounding areas will remain on the political map as a state, quasi-state Ukraine, landlocked state. But yet again, as I said many times before, I see no reason why should Moscow ever agree for such a development that Kiev and surrounding areas to remain as a quasi-state Ukraine. After all, Kiev is a Russian city. So, yes, if Western troops, if NATO troops are deployed in Western Ukraine, they might be possible to avoid direct clashes. But if those troops will move outside of Western Ukraine, then it will become highly likely that those troops will be destroyed by Russian forces. But anyway, let's continue. And RIA Novosti's report here that according to article in New York Times, officials, high-ranking officials in the NATO are quite skeptical that during the upcoming summer summit of NATO, which will take in US, Ukraine will be invited to join this US-led anti-Russian alliance. Not really surprising, at least for me. I knew forever that Ukraine will never become a member of NATO. Only if, by the way, these western regions of Ukraine will be recognized by West as a state of Ukraine, and will receive that western part into NATO. But yet again, maybe some high-ranking officials in Washington and London have such ideas, but if we ask Poland, they might disagree, because this blue area, by the way, in the western part of Ukraine used to be part of Poland before Second World War, for example. And now Polish elites have unique opportunity to reclaim these former Polish territories. And I don't think they will miss this opportunity. Let's see. And by the way, this gray area, not gray, but whatever color that is, used to be part of Hungary before First World War. And these brown areas here used to be part of Romania. So most likely all these three countries, Poland, Hungary and Romania, will have some claims on some territories in the western, on entire western Ukraine, let's say, on territories in western Ukraine. Anyway, let's continue. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that foreign minister of Ukraine made statements about new ideas of Secretary General of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, about creating new fund to support Ukraine for 100 billion euros. And well, Kuleba said that he's kind of skeptical, he's a little skeptical about this initiative, because according to him, European NATO member states are struggling to come up with 500 million a year. So how are they gonna allocate 100 billion? Interesting approach. And by the way, there were some reports on several channels that Kuleba and some other high-ranking officials in the West are extremely, in Ukraine, are extremely unhappy with their Western masters, because more increasingly Western leaders are talking about not just giving grants to Kyiv regime, but to giving loans. And Zelensky and his associates are not happy with this idea that Ukraine has to pay back anything to anyone. They get used to receive everything for free, and they want to maintain this free flow of weapons, money, everything, as long as possible. RT is reporting that NATO creates a joint mission in Ukraine. According to Sikorsky, foreign minister of Poland, NATO countries have created a joint mission in Ukraine in order to expand the scope of support the US-led bloc can provide to Kyiv. Polish foreign minister Radzislaw Sikorsky announced on Tuesday, yet again, dear friends, another indicator that NATO forces are preparing to deploy. NATO is preparing, and Western members of NATO, Western states, to deploy their forces into Western Ukraine. That's what is going on, dear friends, in my personal opinion. NATO is in preparations to deploy forces into Western Ukraine. Recently, there was, and maybe still continues, this largest military exercises of NATO since the Cold War in the eastern parts of Europe. And that military exercise is also, in my opinion, was a preparation for rapid deployment of troops into Western Ukraine. So there are so many indicators that, well, Western ruling class is preparing for inevitable full-scale disintegration of Ukraine. And this statement from Sikorsky is also additional indicator of that. And well, before I continue, let me remind you that this channel is subscriber funded, fully subscriber funded, and unfortunately there are days like yesterday and day before yesterday when I have not even a single donation, and I'm becoming a little more skeptical about future of this small media project of mine. But in any case, if you find these channels of mine or this project interesting, useful, informative, and one that deserves to exist in this field of news and Political commentary. Please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Boosty. This is Boosty, by the way. I shared some pictures here recently. Most popular platform, donation platform among Russian creators, content creators. I was banned on Buy Me Coffee because of my Russian citizenship, and therefore I have to actively, or I have to try at least to actively use Boosty now. So yes, I have you can support from PayPal, Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. This is my Patreon, by the way, and I have this is yesterday's news update, for example. I mean, I have not just news updates, but also I share some photos, some apolitical programs like Streets of Moscow, some other stuff, and well, yes, that's it, man. If all the links are under this video in description box or in the pinned comment. I hate to talk about this stuff, by the way. I mean, I just hate it. So it is what it is, man. Maybe from Monday I will no longer have updates on YouTube and Rumble, just headlines, and because Patreon is a major lifeline for this project, I will continue to make updates just for Patreon. I'm thinking about it because why am I spending time to upload videos on YouTube and Rumble? I don't know. It's not always easy to build something from the first page. Anyway, let's continue. It's all okay, by the way. Everything is okay. I mean, RT is reporting that UK has no plans for war, according to Sky News. Britain has no real national plan for the mobilization of its people, industry, or defense forces in the event of war. Sky News reported on Wednesday, citing number of defense sources. Well, they might don't have some plans right now, but we all hear statements from high-ranking UK officials that war is coming. I mean, so therefore, yesterday Sharp's defense minister of UK was, yesterday or day before, was saying that world is in pre-war era. And he was calling for NATO member states to increase spendings on military-industrial complex, to further enrich military-industrial complex. Well, most likely, UK government will start developing some mobilization plans, and I would not be surprised, by the way, at all. And I said it many times before, if UK will start conscription again. Just wait for it. Most likely they will start conscription again. But let's continue. RT is reporting that, NATO missile failure blocks traffic in the Baltic Strait. Malfunctioning missile launcher on board of Royal Danish Navy frigate caused a 6-hour closure of the Great Belt Strait on Thursday. HDMS Niels Juel, named after 17th century Danish admiral, was moored at the Korsør naval base on the island of Zealand. The vessel was performing a test while at anchor when the crew noticed a problem with the Harpoon anti-ship missile system. The missile's booster became active and could not be switched off. Until the booster is disabled, there is a risk that the missile could launch and fly several kilometers away, the Danish military said in the statement. So for 6 hours, entire strait was shut down, quite understandably, because the Harpoon is a serious weapon system that can damage or even sink quite large ships. And well, I mean, incidents happens, by the way. Incidents happens, nothing extraordinary, but it's news that worth being noticed, I guess. RT is reporting that Iran promises Israel slap in the face. Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has vowed to punish Israel following an air raid on Damascus, Syria, that killed 7 officers of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, or Quds Force. Well, at this point, I guess no one has any doubts that Iran will retaliate. Only question is on which scale. And I guess all the friends of Iran, through diplomatic means, are probably recommending not to respond in a extremely harsh way, because that may cause another strike from Israel. Then Iran will respond, and eventually entire region may end up in a conflict. Although of course it is hard to demand from Iran response to be mild, because after all, Iran's diplomatic mission was targeted, which is crime on its own, and Iran's officers were killed, high-ranking officers. So Iran definitely has every right to retaliate. But well, let's hope whatever their steps Tehran will take, we will see no regional war in the Middle East. Let's hope so. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting. Vzglyad newspaper is I spoke about this news yesterday in headlines, so let's go with this news. RT's information that EU boosts gas purchases from Russia. I want to give you some numbers here. So the EU increased natural gas purchases from Russia in 2023, despite pledging to phase out all Russian fuel imports by 2027. Reuters reported on Wednesday, citing calculations based on the bloc's trade statistics. And well, let's go with the numbers. By the way, calculations shown that EU brought more than 15.6 million metric tons of Russian LNG last year, nearly 40% jump compared to 2021. The increase brought the share of Russian gas in the bloc's total supplies to around 15%. That figure is some way below the roughly 37% share that Russia gas occupied prior to Ukraine conflict, although it is much larger than the roughly 8% that it was reduced to after pipeline imports plunged in 2022. Spain, which is previously did not import Russian pipeline gas, has become the largest re-exporter of Russian gas supplies by sea, having brought around 32% of all Russian LNG cargoes headed to the bloc. The report noted Belgium and France followed closely behind, and well, quite interesting, isn't it, that European states, number of European states, refused to buy Russian pipeline gas, which is much cheaper than LNG. And this decision was made based on some ideological stuff, this anti-Russian hysteria and so on. And now very same countries, by the way, are buying Russian LNG and paying more. Okay, I mean, I don't get it really, but it is what it is, man. If they wanted to pay more for Russian gas, they could pay more for Russian pipeline gas also. I mean, I don't think Moscow would be against, but it is what it is, man. These people, man, in leadership of Western states are really something else. RT is reporting that Boeing output plummets as safety fears linger, according to Reuters, and well, This company is, of course, in deep trouble, and because of the safety issues, because of the many issues that this company is experiencing, number of production of the planes plummeted. Before this recent crisis, Boeing was producing 38 planes every month, and now just several planes a month, which is a big deal, by the way, of course, which is a big deal because it's delays in deliveries. These planes cost tens of millions of dollars, and the customers not gonna be happy that they're gonna be delays, and who knows, maybe Boeing will even lose some customers, and probably will lose some customers, and in that case, I can imagine how happy Airbus CEO are gonna be, and Airbus management, main competitor to the Boeing right now. But I mean, give it 10-15 years, and who knows, maybe Russian and Chinese companies will also catch up and will become significant players on the world market of civilian aviation. Let's continue. And TASS news agency is reporting that leadership of Kyrgyzstan, by the way, tried to explain their decision to stop operating with the Russian Mir cards. They say that their system is based on programs of Lithuanian or Latvian state. Latvian company, yes. So these banking operations in this republic, Kyrgyzia, conducted with use of some programs from this Latvian company, and they threatened basically that they will turn off entire system if they will continue to operate with the Mir cards. This is, by the way, cyber terrorism. I mean, this is clearly cyber terrorism from Latvian company, and well, Kyrgyzia made decision to stop operating with Russian Mir cards because of these threats from Latvia. And by the way, they are promising that they are dealing right now with this issue. Probably they will try to find some other companies that are more adequate, and Russian Mir card will start operating in Kyrgyzstan again. Who knows? Let's see, by the way. Let's see. I believe until BRICS will come up with alternative financial and banking system and alternative world reserve currency, this type of issue is going to continue, because Western ruling class is using and will continue to use Western financial and banking system as a weapon against everybody that they don't like. Interfax is reporting, and as I said previously, I believe it is possible, let's say, that during the Kazan summit of BRICS that will take place this autumn here in Russia, probably, or maybe even before that, probably we will hear some statements from BRICS about first concrete steps towards creation of alternative to the Western financial and banking systems, maybe even about BRICS currency. Let's see. And finally, I will share with you this information, if I may, that well, according to Russian Central Bank, right now, for 29th of March, by the way, for 29th of March, about a week ago, Russian reserves were on the point of $589.4 billion. That's a Russian reserves, by the way. Quite significant safety cushion for economy of Russia. And I remind you that Russian foreign debt, for example, is only about 17% of the GDP of the country, around 360 billion. So Russia in reserves has almost twice the number, almost twice more than Russian foreign debt, 589.4 billion, which is good, by the way, which is even great, I will say, because this is definitely insurance that Russian central bank, Russian government will have enough funds to deal with any difficulties that Western ruling class may create for Russia in upcoming weeks, months, and maybe even years. And well, this is it for now. Hopefully you will find this update informative, interesting, maybe even useful, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary just about anything, any topic. More likes and comments may help to deal with the algorithm on both platforms, Rumble and YouTube, and will help to reach wider audience. And for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channels with your friends on any of the platforms that you are actively using. And yes, this is it. Have a great day and take care. Bye for now.